This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Friday, June 12th, 2026, and the excellent Rich Woods is here with me from XDA. Hi, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I know you don't just do XDA, but we're going to talk about laptops again,
Sure.
folks. I'm sorry. Look, we have some Computex leftovers, and Rich and I saw each other in Taipei. He couldn't make the podcast last week. We have so much to rant about. Plus, it's Apple WWDC week, and oh my God, I am so pissed. No, I'm not. I have some thoughts.
I'm a little bit.
Well, you're an Apple iPhone user, so you might have more thoughts. Because see, I'm a Mac user, but I don't really use any of Apple's features.
I'm exactly the opposite, right?
Yeah. You're Windows and iPhone, and I'm Android.
And iPad and Apple Watch and AirPods and Apple TV.
Oh, you have
everything
all of it.
except Mac. Yes.
Okay. As an aside, you don't hate the Mac, right? Do you hate Mac OS?
I do hate Mac OS. I like Windows.
Okay. So it's just the OS for you. Okay, cool. There's a lot of people like that, and I'm okay with that because for me, I love Mac OS because it's Unix. Not Linux, Unix. Just like, personally, I don't have any issues with Windows 11. A lot of people don't like it. I don't like the Copilot stuff they're like just putting all over us. But
yeah, I mean, I've always found it very easy to ignore, though.
Yeah, that's my point. And the OS itself, I think, is really solid. I don't know why people are complaining about Windows. What do they want? They want to go back to Windows 7? Is that what it is?
I think a lot of people do. That's a lot of the sentiment out there.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Just this but Windows 7 was the last time that people just sort of got an OS that was pretty much just the bridge between your keyboard and the apps you want to use. And ever since then, it's been, Windows 8 was obviously Windows 8, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. Windows 10, we're talking about telemetry and all that stuff. And, there's ads in the start menu now. And so, yeah,
no, all of that is
it's
wrong.
a modern Windows 7 that people want.
Well, I get that it's all wrong to have ads in, and I think and Microsoft needs to fix it. I also think Microsoft needs to optimize Windows 11 to run on 8 gigs of RAM. Like, I think that with the price of RAM and the way it is right now, for certain applications like MacBook Neo competitor, it needs to happen. I know long-term, this is not the solution.
Yeah.
Right? But I think in this zeitgeist, this exact moment in time, we need Windows to run properly on 8 gigs of RAM. But that's a whole other story. Look, the thing about Windows 11 for me is that it does the job. Like, it's solid, it's reliable, doesn't crash. It is a modern OS with all the features and the gimmicks. Of course, ads in the start menu, not good. Copilot everywhere, not good. But I ignore it, and I'm good. I personally think, because visually, we should probably head back to Vista days. I'm totally Fruitiger. I miss it. It's got to come back. We're 20 years late now. It's the Renaissance. It needs to. That would be amazing to me. I know. I'm sorry.
Transparency is in.
I mean, look at iOS 27 or whatever. So we're going to talk about Apple and Worldwide Developer Conference. We're going to talk about some computers we didn't mention that we saw at Computex, and then some phone stuff. There's not a lot of news right now. There's obviously phones coming up later in the year. We've got Samsung's probably the next big thing in July sometime with the folding phones. We don't know when, we don't know what, we don't know what's going on. I mean, there's a wide and a regular. We know that for the book style one. But your guess is as good as mine. Of course, Apple's doing a wide folding phone, so everybody's going to copy that. There's rumors Oppo's working on something, Xiaomi's working on something. I mean, you know how it is. But start with RTX Spark. So I'm intrigued because you wrote a couple of articles that I didn't really mention in last week's show that I think are relevant. First of all, Surface Laptop Ultra. I'm super intrigued by this thing. You saw it. What's the deal?
Well, there isn't that much of a deal yet. Kind of as we were talking about, a lot of I saw all the RTX Spark laptops and mini PCs. NVIDIA showed us all of them. All the demos were running off of Surface Laptop Ultra. But the one that they actually showed us in the demo areas was not powered on. None of these machines were powered on. So I wasn't actually able to touch one that was that was powered on to actually
But you were able
see.
to touch them, right? Like get an idea for weight, for feel. Like they let
Yes.
you click on
Yeah.
the keyboard and
Feels
stuff.
great.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it feels great. It feels like a Surface laptop, which to me right now, I do think that the Surface laptop is the best Windows laptop on the market.
I agree.
So yeah, a little bit heavier. I think it's 4.5 pounds. And then of course there is a secret port, which was what a lot of my article was about.
So I don't get it. Like I'm trying to understand. Are they magnets on either side of the USB-C? Is that what it is?
So that's unconfirmed. So when Microsoft showed us this product, they said there are 3 USB-C ports.
Okay.
And that's when you look at them and say, hey, wait a minute. One of those USB-C ports is a little bit bigger than the rest.
Oh, is it bigger as in wider or thicker or overall just bigger?
Overall bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. So they won't say why. They said they'll tell us later this year. So we started digging around as to what it might be. We looked at some patents that we found. Adam Conway helped. He's great at finding things you're not supposed to find.
Yeah.
So
you got a great team over there.
And also there's a little bit of common sense involved. So it seems to be a new Surface Connect port. Okay. Which Microsoft has always loved having on Surface products, their own proprietary magnetic.
So that used to be the little cylinder with the blade of connectors that used to magnetically latch onto the early Surfaces, right? And that often broke in the most inconvenient of ways. I have seen that happen.
Did it?
For me, once
I haven't actually used one since they introduced USB-C in Surface.
Yeah, of course.
I've just anything that comes in the box just stays in the box, and I use my own USB-C chargers.
You and me both.
So yeah. So but before that came out in Surface Pro 3. They had a different one before that. That was on like RT and the original Surface Pro. But yeah, same idea. But the Surface Connect port has always been a USB port, just not shaped like a USB port. It was always spec for USB. The spec evolved over the generations too. Remember Microsoft was the last OEM to adopt Thunderbolt.
Yes.
So that port evolved with it when they finally did. They ditched Surface Connect with, I think, when they introduced the 13-inch Surface laptop.
Okay.
And it would seem that this is the new version of that.
Oh, cool.
I think it's kind of cool, though, because if it allows you to plug in this magnetic charger or magnetic docking solution, you can do that. And if you don't want to do that, you can just use it as a USB-C port, which I think is a really smart implementation.
Right. Yeah. I'm not against slightly custom ports. Like, here's the thing, right? MagSafe on MacBooks is still a super cool thing. Do I use it a lot? No.
Yeah.
But on my desks, where I sometimes use my laptop, it happens that I don't want to use my desktop and I want to use a laptop. I have just a MagSafe 3, the newest one that's USB-C compatible, sitting there just for charging. It's nice to have because it's just quick and dirty, and I can free up another USB-C cable.
MagSafe is just charging, right?
Only charging.
Yeah. Yeah. See, my problem with Surface Connect over the years was that they were essentially wasting a USB port if you don't want to use their own proprietary cable.
Yeah.
So it could be something totally different too.
Yeah, for sure. The nice thing about MagSafe version 3 now is that it's actually at the other end is a USB-C connector, and you can plug that into any PD compliant charging brick, or in fact, charging battery pack that's PD compliant, as long as it gives you the wattage enough. So if you have an Air or like anything that's lower power, like maybe a MacBook Pro M5, that's just the base model, you don't probably need more than 30 watts. Maybe, it'll charge slowly, but it'll work. And so for me, like essentially a phone battery pack could use the MagSafe connector to charge my Mac if I have an Air. If it's a Pro, like Macs are the better chips, it probably needs a bit more juice. But it's nice because the old MagSafes required, they were captive to the charging brick, and you needed the charging brick, and it was a nightmare. But personally, I would say on the go, I charge my MacBooks all with USB-C, because USB-C all the things, right? I have so many devices, and I've the PD PPS compatible chargers to match. So look, I think it's cool. But Surface Laptop Ultra as a device? Like, what is it? 16-inch? How big?
Yeah.
How heavy? How bulky?
It's 15 inches.
15,
it's 15
nice.
inches, about 4.5 pounds. And it's solid. Biggest touchpad that they've put on a Surface to date, which is kind of interesting because they already sell 15-inch products, which is great. I like bigger touchpads, and of course, it's a haptic touchpad. Which, if it wasn't, we'd have some real problems to talk about.
I mean, look, the reality is Apple set the standard. What, it's 2015 with the MacBook 12-inch Retina, right? Like, you don't go back after that unless you want to go cheap, which is like what Neo did. But like on a, what is it going to be, $6,000 for 100? I mean, making this up, but 128 gigabytes of RAM.
Well, we don't know the prices.
Like, we're talking about the same price as like a maxed out MacBook Pro at this point, right? And so, for me, the point of reference is like Zephyrus G14 or G15, whatever, like those kind of laptops versus, and of course, MacBook Pro. Like, is it that size and thickness? It's not bulkier than that, right? It's sleek and sexy.
No, it doesn't feel bulky.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sleek and sexy. It's
a Surface.
As I described, it's exactly like you would imagine a Surface laptop to be. That's why when I started out, I said I think that the Surface laptop is currently the best Windows laptop on the market. And you just imagine that at 4.5 pounds, 15-inch screen, and you're imagining the thing that I saw.
And it's got all the ports, like SD card and everything, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
It does, which is kind of interesting. Like they put HDMI on there.
I think they're really aiming for MacBook Pro. I mean, it's clear to me, right? Like, and it's good
I would
because,
think so. I would think so because they've never really had a proper MacBook Pro competitor. I remember
Surface Book.
I remember.
Though, no?
You remember? I never liked Surface Book. I always thought it was a horrible product.
Okay.
And by the way, I've said that about almost all Surface products until pretty much this most recent generation. I've never liked Surface before. So when I say that I think the Surface laptop is the best Windows laptop on the market, I do mean it as someone who
You
tests
mean the
many
laptop, right? So do you not like the Surface tablets?
When I say that I didn't like them before this latest generation, I mean all Surface products.
Okay.
But I also think Surface Pro has gotten way better with the new Flex keyboard that they introduced with this generation. Because what makes that really interesting is because just adding Bluetooth to the keyboard, just allowing you to take the tablet
you
and
can
move
detach it. Yeah.
2 feet back, you don't realize how much strain you're putting on your neck by using a laptop that's right in front of you. And when you move that tablet 2 feet back, it's like, oh, this is actually really comfortable to use.
Yeah.
I mean, laptop form factor is still my preference, but they actually made some real changes. But yeah, anyway, I hated Surface Book. Surface Book was a product that used underpowered CPUs, very underpowered. And also it was very top heavy because those CPUs were in the display. And so was the storage and all that stuff. And a second battery. Yep. So I would take it to product launches and stuff. And if the press area didn't have a table for us to sit at, you're holding it down with your palms to type because otherwise it'll just fall over.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't like that. But I was going to say Surface Laptop Studio, which was the successor to Surface Book, which was much better because it actually had more powerful CPUs because they weren't trying to stick it in the display. And it had the same dedicated graphics. But I remember when Surface Laptop Studio 2 was launched, and that was meant to be their MacBook Pro competitor. And they showed, I think they showed a video rendering or something, and they compared it to a MacBook Pro, and they showed it just being faster. And I think all of us in the crowd kind of laughed a little bit because it's like, even if it's a little bit faster than a MacBook Pro, the battery life isn't even close to say at the time it was probably what, M1 Max, M2 Max. The battery life isn't even like, that's what blew me away about the I think I had the M1 Pro MacBook Pro. That's what blew me away. Like you have something that's actually powerful enough to do the things that you need to do. We've had that on Windows forever, but you can't leave your home without a charger, even if you're not doing those things.
Yeah.
When you're on the road, you still need to have that charger with you at all times. So that was a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited.
So this should be more interesting in that way.
I have liked Surface products. I've always thought they were really well made and really well executed. There were some misses. I think Surface Book is a good example. I really thought the Surface Studio all-in-one was really cool. It's hard to tell now because
Yeah.
it's so long ago, because it's obviously nowadays it'd be a relic. It wouldn't be fast enough to do anything anymore. But I give you some example of, I think, you and I talked about this ahead of the podcast a little bit. I think Surface RT was a pivotal point in the PC world. Let's talk about that, because I think this is my take, right? And again, I am OS agnostic a lot. I will use Linux, I will use Windows, I will use Mac OS.
As we all know, NVIDIA has the most experience with Windows on ARM, 14 years now,
right?
Being the original Windows RT partner.
Exactly.
I was giving Qualcomm a lot of crap about
I'm
that.
trying to talk about kind of the milestones on PC laptops, right? I feel like, of course, there's a lot of milestones in the 90s with ThinkPad and Toshiba, Portages, and redefining light and thin. VAIO, let's not forget, Sony did some crazy ass stuff, right? I love those computers from the late 90s, early 2000s. But in the more recent, I guess, the time where, we can actually use these computers to do something productive, I kind of like to think of the MacBook Air in 2008, the original, the one that was really expensive and underpowered and has a little flip-up door for the single USB-A port and headphone jack. That shook up the PC industry. The Ultrabook came out of that. ASUS became a thing, I think, at that point, because they made Zenbook and showed the entire industry, hey, look, we can do what Apple's doing. And I think until then, ASUS wasn't really on my radar as a laptop manufacturer, as a powerhouse in the PC world, right? And ever since then, the light and thin category has been defined by the Air. I think the 2010 MacBook Air, the one that's wedge-shaped, they came in two sizes, 11 and 13, and stayed in that chassis for, oh my God, forever. That further reinforced to the PC, because it was $999 when the 11-inch came out. And then suddenly it was all the things we loved about the aspirational underpowered Air, but now in a usable package that was affordable. And I think that redefined the price point expectation in the market. Then we got...
I want to briefly mention the 2013 MacBook Air, because I believe it was 2013. That was the one with 4th gen Intel chips as well.
Yeah, that's right. That was a big difference.
I remember when I remember that presentation, and they were showing for the 11-inch model 9 hours of battery life, and for the 13-inch model 12 hours of battery life, which was crazy. But that was something that was afforded by the Haswell chips. And the thing that I bought one of those, and what blew me away is that, unlike Windows PC makers who have these absurd battery claims that don't make any sense, they were actually delivering on these battery claims. You could actually use this. It's not local video playback. You're never connected to the internet and you'll get 12 hours. No, you could use this thing for 12 hours.
Wow.
And it worked. And I've always appreciated that with Apple, is that they make these claims and they don't oversell themselves or overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
So that was really cool. But anyway, back to Surface RT.
No, but I mean, look, there's some, assuming that Surface RT is the next kind of milestone. I know it's before the 2013, but it doesn't matter. RT to me is an unsung hero, because it was back when Nokia existed and they made these incredibly crazy phones before the iPhone, before Android, before even Pocket PC was, it was around, but it wasn't that great. Those Symbian phones they made, they had crazy GPS, camera, Wi-Fi, stuff that we take for granted now. It was always underbaked. It was always ahead of its time. And I feel like Surface RT was exactly that. I'm a big fan of ARM. I've seen ARM develop since, I'm so old that I've seen ARM develop since its inception. Archimedes, the 80s British PC that they put the first RISC chip in, ARM chip in. That stuff, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is the future. Efficient, but powerful. We need to go in that direction, because if you want something that's handheld, and if you look, the early PDAs, the Palm Pilot and even the Newton, the ill-forgotten Newton from Apple, and others, those Pocket PCs, they're all ARM powered, right? Nokia was all ARM powered. So I knew the future was ARM. Yep. If you wanted to be ultra mobile, ultra thin, ultra light, and long battery life, efficient, we needed ARM. So when finally we got an NVIDIA Tegra 2, right, and the RT, I was like, oh my God, this is it, Windows on ARM. But then they gimped Windows. Like, why did you not give us a full version of Windows? Why this RT version? Anyway, so that was a miss. But overall, and as you know, I follow Steven Sanofsky on X, and he writes about that time. And I think we underestimate what they did.
First of all, everybody should go and read his book or listen to the audiobook on Audible. It's 50 hours long, and he narrates it himself, which is pretty wild. But he talks about it in there, and he answers those exact questions about why there was a desktop mode on Windows RT, and every one of these things came with Microsoft Office, and nothing else could run in the desktop mode except like system apps like File Explorer, and Internet Explorer, which was weird. If you remember, Internet Explorer had a Metro version and a desktop version.
That's right. Yeah.
And it would depend on not only where you launched it from, but also if Internet Explorer was your default browser. Because if it wasn't your default browser, one of those just wouldn't work. It was weird. But often these APIs were not open to anyone except the Office team. And it turns out that the main reason for that is Office just didn't want to make Metro versions of their apps, and they had to ship Office. So they had to have a desktop app. There's other stuff too, like they needed to have control panel and stuff, and it would have been work to put that into settings. But it's mainly because Office didn't want to make a Metro app, and they had to have Office. So they had to have that jarring desktop experience, which was super weird for a tablet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that moment in time, though, like you were saying, it really shifted a lot of Surface Pro too, right? Because both of them were announced at the same time, but Pro launched in 2013. But all this stuff that we see today, like the change in direction from iPad that we saw over the years, it all comes from there.
Yeah, I mean, they defined a new category that everybody followed, the same way as MacBook Air defined a category that everybody follows. And so the next big milestone, I feel, in this light, portable, ultra efficient, thin, mobile, full desktop experience is M1, right? I think that, and that's the ultimate ARM PC experience. And thankfully, that lit a fire under the entire PC industry's butt to go ARM. And Microsoft, of course. Because here's the thing. I was at Computex many, many years in a row until COVID. And then this is my first time back since 2019 this year, which I'm very excited about. You listeners know me as a phone person. I am a phone person. That's my main thing. But I do cars. But I'm a big fan of ultra mobile computing. Like, it doesn't matter what format factor it comes in. Is it an iPad? Is it a folding phone like book style on a stand with a folding keyboard? I do that. That's my two-pocket computer, what I call it. Stuff like that. Or is it like a Surface device? Is it a MacBook Air Ultrabook, whatever, right? I'm on board on these things. But ARM has always been the key. I think ARM and RISC-V are the key. RISC in general is the key. I was talking to Dom during the podcast last week, and I said to Dom, I feel like as Intel progresses into competing with Snapdragon and NVIDIA, MediaTek with the RTX Spark and whatever, like I presume that at some point NVIDIA, MediaTek is going to also try to aim for more affordable devices. Unified memory is an important thing. Maybe. But the point is, I wonder if Intel is going to go more and more ARM in the way they create the x86 architecture, that compatibility. And my joke has always been that 10 years from now, we're going to have Intel chips that are essentially almost identical to the competing ARM chips, except they'll have one x86 core left for compatibility. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but Windows will be so optimized to run on ARM, and they will have Dom said he thinks they're going to go RISC-V. He thinks that at the core, Intel's going to go. Yeah, they just acquired a RISC-V company. So he thinks that their way of competing is to go RISC-V. And I wouldn't be surprised because look, x86 is a bit of a dead end. Like we can optimize it more obviously. Yes. Wildcat Lake, we're going to talk about it, is a good example. There's a lot of work that still can be done. I'm not against x86. I'm just saying like CISC is not the way to go. And RISC can give you CISC. You can create a CISC chip using a bunch of RISC cores, okay? And that's what I'm saying. Like it becomes dogmatic at this point. Like, are you really, like, if you compare a Pentium from, 2000 with like the Wildcat Lake today, and you look at the architecture, the Wildcat Lake looks like an ARM chip, okay? It looks like an SoC from a smartphone, okay? It does not look remotely what like a CISC chip used to look like even 10 years ago. And that just shows, that's the universal kind of point that everybody's arrived at. That's the only solution to make this work efficiently and power-wise and performance-wise. So I think that's what I'm fascinated
Intel isn't
by.
just pushing that way, though. It's not just M1 that pushed them that way, because they've had a fire under their ass to some extent
from AMD as well, right?
Well, from Qualcomm even before that.
Well, yeah,
even though Qualcomm was not competitive before M1, right? We know that. We know X Elite is where, and that was 2024. M1 was 2020, right?
Right.
But 2017 when Qualcomm showed up with these horrible Snapdragon 835 laptops.
Yeah, but I was there. I was at Computex. And that's why I'm pointing it out, because I'm like, I've been following this. And then they did 850, and then they did the SQ1 chip. By the way, another milestone in Surface.
HCX.
No, I'm talking about the...
No, I just hate SQ1 as a name.
Okay, but it's essentially an ACX chip, isn't it? More or less.
Right. That was because Microsoft just wanted to rebrand the chip for their Surface products.
But my point is, I'm bringing it up because I'm a big fan of Microsoft Surface X. I think that was also a good product.
Hey,
and
the Surface Pro X was so cool.
That's what I mean.
That was
Pro X.
Such a good design.
I have one.
Yeah.
And I have Windows 11 on it, and it runs just fine. I mean, is it as good? It's basically running like the cheapest Snapdragon X you can get, in terms of performance. But it works. Like, I have Firefox on there, and it's just happy as a clam, But look, it's a fact that the M1 really changed the game. And now I feel like the Neo changed the game again. And I think it changed the game on, like, it's hard. Like, I talk to my editors at Hot Hardware, and they don't really get it. And that's why I'm writing my Neo review right now. I'm really hoping they let me publish it, because PC nerds, and I'm not a PC nerd as much as you are, but I'm talking like Windows nerds, we forget that it's the overall user experience of your thin and light mobility laptop that matters. It's not so much the specs, right? Like, I'm all on board for having that 120 hertz display on the XPS 13 with Wildcat. We'll talk about that in a minute. I think this is phenomenal. But do I really need that? No. What I really need is a really good display that's bright. I need a trackpad that's really good. I need a keyboard that's really good. I need a webcam that doesn't blow, and I need speakers that are okay. And then I need battery life for days or hours. And then if all of that can be delivered and I can get enough performance to run DaVinci Resolve or a small simple 4K edit, a bunch of image processing in like Photoshop or Lightroom, and run a web browser to have a 20, 30 tabs open, I'm good. And that's what the Neo delivers. But it does it at an incredible price point, and the build quality is unparalleled. And I think that in that sense, it's really pushing the PC market, because Acer clearly, with the Swift Air 14 that they showed us at Computex, is hitting that. Like, the build quality on that thing and the materials, I was like, wow. The only thing missing is it's a springboard.
Really nice. And the colors.
Yeah, and the colors. It's a springboard trackpad, so it doesn't click evenly, but that's fine. I can live with that. But tell us about the XPS 13, because I feel like I didn't touch it. You did. Is it as good as a Neo? Is there any plastic anywhere other than the keyboard?
No. That's the thing. It's an XPS, right? And XPS has certain design principles, and one of those is that they are made of all aluminum. And also, this product does scale up to get very expensive. So
yeah, that's nice, because they have different chips and different price points and
different RAM configurations, stuff like that. So starts at $690. Well, technically, it starts at $699. I got a correction on my article from them, because I said it starts at $699 because it has 8 gigs of RAM and starts with 256 gigs of storage. And actually, that was wrong, because it's $699 for 8 and 512.
Oh,
and 256 is coming later at an undisclosed price.
I saw your
and they
correction.
wouldn't even confirm that price. Yeah, they wouldn't even confirm that price will be lower. But whatever. So yeah, it's an all aluminum laptop, and it's an all new design from Dell because they showed this at CES. They had it in a room under glass that you were not allowed to take pictures of. They didn't talk about any specs at all. Intel Wildcat Lake in the base models. You can also get it with Panther Lake. Obviously, it costs more. The Wildcat Lake one's 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, which is good. And USB 4 ports, right? Nice. So
no Thunderbolt, right?
Neo.
When you say USB 4, are they Thunderbolt capable? That's the question. I mean, maybe on the high-end models they will be. But look, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, you're right. It might not be USB 4 in those base models, but the Core Ultra ones are Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing. Like, the reason I'm bringing it up is because if I have one criticism about the Neo, of course, the lack of blacklight on the keyboard, which for me is not a huge deal, but it is like on that 13-hour flight to Taipei, it was a bit of a pain. Yeah. I mean, I can touch type, but sometimes, like, it's nice to just be able to get my point of reference by looking down at the keyboard again.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, the battery life, as I said in the last week's show, my battery life was insane. I went from 100% to 40%.
Yeah.
In 8 hours of continuous use without Wi-Fi at 1/3 brightness. And I was in DaVinci editing video and in Audacity editing audio, and it kept up. Like, it's insane that the battery lasted. I left the plane with 40%. I was like, what? Anyway, it's my first time really using it on a long flight. So, but here, the XPS to me,
fantastic.
I/O on the Neo is crap. Let's be real, okay? And it's because it's a smartphone chip. It only has one USB 3 port, 3.2, not bad, 10 gigabits per second. But the reason there's a USB 2 port there is really just for charging, and the fact that they basically have a hub in there or something, or they've found a spare port that wasn't used by an internal, device that's in the phone, like, whatever it might be. So that's actually why, and then it sucks. Like, and I think that Wildcat Lake, being an Intel product, being a PC from the ground up like chip, right? I think is gonna bring better I/O for sure. Whether it's Thunderbolt, it doesn't matter. I think at that price point, in my opinion, like USB 3.2 is fast enough for 99% of people's uses. You're not gonna plug a freaking external GPU to this thing, okay? Like, let's be real. So, but you think that they can compete, that if they can keep that price point, it's going to be a solid 120 hertz display too, right? So nice.
Yeah, 120 hertz, variable refresh rate. It's also 2.2 pounds.
Yeah, it's much lighter.
So it's about a half pound lighter.
2.7 on the Neo,
so yeah. I think it's competitive. Every time I talk to a Windows OEM, I ask them about the Neo, and I ask them about the MacBook Air, because you're seeing $1,000 laptops that are being refreshed today at $1,500. And the first question you have to ask them is like, look, the MacBook Air is an amazing product.
It is.
And it's $1,100, right? Tell me why in my review I should not just make a blanket statement that you should never buy this product while the MacBook Air exists. Right. And I hate that. I hate saying that. I've been saying about mini PCs for years now.
Because of the Mac
It makes
Mini.
me angry to say that as a Windows user and a Windows fan, but it's true.
Yeah.
So like same thing goes for the Neo, and what almost every OEM says one. Well, if you're a Windows fan, you won't buy the MacBook Air, which is whatever. And then they say, look, Apple's going to have to raise their prices at some point too. Seems like they had a lot of RAM on hand, and at some point they're going to.
I also think they forget a big thing. Apple has profit margins, unlike the rest of the PC industry. They can afford to reduce their profit margins and still keep the price. It's like back when Tesla was at the top of their game, 22, 21, the Model Y was the best car in the world. They constantly lowered the price and cut down their profit margin just to completely tank the legacy car makers. They just obliterated them in terms of competition. Apple won't do that. They're not that bad, but they could.
I wonder if they go and they come out with a new Neo that's $100 more or $200 more, and it leaves Dell in a good place, because they're like, they fully know this market that they're introducing this PC into. But also at the same time, they'd probably raise their prices too, because the Windows PC market has always been so reactive to Apple. They're doing this because the Neo exists, and if the Neo stopped existing tomorrow, they'd raise the prices on these products.
Yeah.
Right?
I think here's what's going to happen. I think the Neo is going to stay at $699. I think they might drop the $599 tier. I think they'll replace the chip eventually with the A19 Pro, which has 12 gigs of built-in unified memory, which is going to be a bonus for everyone. They're going to put a backlight keyboard in there, and it'll be the ultimate Neo, because that's what we all want, right? Like, we don't really need the 256 gig SKU. I think maybe for education, they'll keep it around for education, but the point is, 12 gigs would be nice. Backlight keyboard would be nice. Maybe better I/O, although with a phone chip, again, I don't think they can do that. But at that point,
I think 256 exists to meet that price point, right?
Well, mostly education, to be honest with you. Most of the people who know who've bought a MacBook Neo bought the 512. $100 more, whatever at that point. And I think the profit margin, they're going to eat those profit margins. Apple will do it because they know they can beat the PC manufacturers. That's my prediction. And of course, they're ramping up A18 Pro binned production, which is weird because honestly, maybe they have some wafers left. And I think that's the only reason. Like Dom was pointing that out on the podcast last week. It's not on a per chip, it's on a per wafer basis, right? So if you have a bunch of 3 nanometer wafers left, you can print A18 Pros again if you want. and so,
yeah.
But I think it makes more sense to me if they do a refresh with new colors or something, that it gets a backlight on the keyboard and it gets an A19 Pro. And that might be a year from now. But in the meantime, I think what we might see is them discontinue the $599, making education only, and the $699 becomes the base. Because here's the thing, you and I both know that fingerprint sensor and that doubling of storage does not cost them $100. Because right? Like, I mean, they're making more profit on that $699. But back to the XPS machine. So I think this is a good competitor. And so we have Acer. Now let's see what Lenovo does and ASUS does, because ASUS hasn't really announced anything yet with Wildcat, have they?
No, I don't
think so.
They probably did. They had a bunch of stuff at Computex.
But here's the thing. I have high hopes for ASUS because I feel like they could match the build quality of what Acer and Dell and Apple have done at that price point. Because A14, right? The A14 shows you what they can do. I
mean, A14's a weird example. No,
it's a MacBook Air competitor, right? Let's be real.
I'd say it's more than that. It's lighter, it's thinner, it's a different
but it's
kind of
price wise. It's like that starts at $999.
Price-wise, yeah,
right.
That's the thing. Like the A14, it was hardware that I loved that laptop. But they didn't sell the Snapdragon X Elite one in the United States. They sold the sucks. X and the X Plus 8 core, which were chips that I did not like, but they were sold for over $1,000. So that Snapdragon X was supposed to be aimed at $600 laptops.
And
Snapdragon X Plus was right. Well, I think it did happen, but not on that particular model. So it's like, but we're talking about putting something like that in a price point that could compete with Neo. I'm not seeing them doing it.
No,
right?
I don't think it's a Neo competitor. I think the A14 is a MacBook Air competitor with some SKUs getting close. The base SKU, the $999 you can buy right now, is a little underpowered, right? We both know that. But in terms of build quality and weight and stuff, it's amazing. And, OLED, come on, you get OLED, right?
By the way, the one that you can buy right now is the X2. Right?
No, I'm not talking about A16.
Oh,
talk about A14. Yeah.
No, they refreshed A14.
Yeah, but the one that's on Amazon right now is X899. I don't know if there's an $899 X2. I wish there was. I'm not going to say no to that. But here's the thing. Let's talk about ASUS because they were at Computex. We didn't talk about it last week. So I'm a little confused. Maybe you know more because you cover this all day. There is a Zenbook 14 that was announced at the event in beautiful colors. Price point is around the $1,000. Yeah. It looks like an Air competitor. The chassis looks identical to the A14. So is it an A14 renamed with new chips?
No.
Because it gives you three options, right? AMD, Intel, and Snapdragon.
It's a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker. Right?
Okay, so it's a bit
but
beefier.
It's that same. Yeah, it's a little beefier. So it's got that same Ceraluminum finish, which I really like.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I really like the colors that they put it in. They're doing the whole inspired by nature thing, which companies love to do these days. But there's a pink, there's a blue, and there's the same like beige, which I really like.
Me too.
Great product, but I'll always be a A14 fan over the regular
take light
14.
and thin, any day. So what's the chipsets for those that they've announced? Do you know? Because I think there's 3 options.
Yeah, it's all 3. It's I don't know the specific Intel or AMD ones that they have.
Is it Wildcat? No, it's not Wildcat. It's got to be Panther, right?
It's probably Panther. I would
Panther Lake, and then definitely Snapdragon X2 of some kind.
Yeah,
right. Possibly Elite. But look, they look really
Elite.
great. I have some photos.
Yeah,
I'll pop some photos in the video right now here for those of you watching on Patreon. Yeah. There's a Patreon version of this podcast, folks. It's video version, and it's $5 a month every week, and you get a day in advance, and you get extra content like photos, and sometimes we brandish devices, and sometimes we go overtime and nerd out about other stuff. So consider joining me on Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. Okay, ASUS also had their 20th anniversary ROG products, which we need to mention because they're so over the effing top. Oh my God, I went to that launch event and wow, I'm not a gamer, but I have to admire like what they did. Like that PC out of all the parts they showed, like if you build a desktop, gaming rig with all the ROG parts they showed for the 20th, that's going to be like a $6,000 PC or something. Like, well, the RTX alone is probably that price, the video card. That curved OLED, like the whole curved OLED inside your PC thing is absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And I'm all there for it because if that floats your boat out there, you gamers, please go nuts. Have fun with it.
How about the new ROG Xbox Ally?
Yeah, the Ally X20?
Yeah, whatever it's called. It's really
it's
nice.
Amazing. So it's got the driftless analog sticks, and it's got a slightly bigger OLED display, which you can only get on that model, and it's bedazzled like everything is gold and black and red and awesome.
It's funny because when I hear that companies are doing some 20th anniversary thing, I imagine that thing, but with a special logo on the back, or maybe the just the totally different chassis or whatever it is. But you pick it up and you feel it and you start playing a game with it. Like, this feels really good. And I tested this on Adam Conway. I handed him one and I'm like, play around with this. And then I picked up a regular Xbox Ally that they had on a desk. I'm like, all right, now play around with this. And he goes, oh, this feels cheap. And that's how you feel after you've used both of this. Suddenly the old one just feels cheap. It's really nice. Totally redesigned.
I think it should have been what they did originally. Like when I was invited to look at the Ally when they launched it in New York, I thought they felt cheap. I really did. Like both of them.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, look, I'm not a gamer. Maybe this is how they feel. Like, I have a good point of reference. Like maybe this is the state of the art. But I'm a bit of a snob for build quality and materials for my Apple days. And you have an iPhone, you know how good an iPhone feels. I mean, they know what to do there. They know what they're doing. I mean, thankfully, there's other companies that make delightful phones like Samsung and OnePlus and Oppo and Xiaomi. Like, you have to spend the money to get them, but they exist. But in the laptop world, and in the PC gaming world, like, to me, the Ally always felt a little cheap. And so, this felt really nice. All the products they announced, even furniture, like they have a chair and like keyboards and mice and it's so delightful. I
thought it was just going to be the G1000, the giant desktop, and the Ally. I thought that was the only 20th anniversary.
No, and they gave us a new Strix laptop too. Just everything.
Everything.
I just want to mention, ROG has been a sponsor of the podcast, disclaimer, and they're not sponsoring the show, but I have very much a soft spot for ASUS's products in general. I really feel like them and Lenovo and Microsoft are the ones pushing the envelope of good design, build quality materials in their products in general. And I want to compliment them on that. This is important. I feel like you should, this is why I'm really worried about Snapdragon C. Can we have a 2-minute Snapdragon C rant? Again,
if we could keep it to 2 minutes, I don't know.
Dom and I had a bit of a rant last week, and I'm like, for me, I don't think they can hit $300, and you agree with me. That's the thing.
No. You were at the same Q&A session that I was at. They are not trying to hit $300 laptops. That is a message that they are putting out there. This is not a chip for $300 laptops. This is a chip for laptops that are $300 in a fictional timeline where there is no memory shortage.
Correct.
And it's, hey, maybe they'll be in $300 laptops if the memory shortage ends tomorrow, but we know it's not going to end tomorrow.
And so far, what we've seen, the Acer Aspire Go 15, that thing is a chassis that already exists, it turns out, and they just stuffed a freaking Snapdragon C in there. And here's the thing, guys, I'm sorry, but this is a definition of what I don't like, this whole concept of a $300 laptop. Yeah. Yes, look, I understand. If you can't afford anything else, I'm not going to be mad at you for buying that. Like, you need something. But like, they are crap laptops, all of them. Those things you see at Walmart and Best Buy, unless they're discounted $700 laptops down to $300, they are crap. They're terrible. Do not buy them. Do not buy them for your parents, for God's sake. You know, and that includes the Chromebooks. You know, and this is what I have this issue. I was talking to our good friend Jeff, PR guy at Lenovo, yesterday about this, and how the Chromebook 14 Plus that they make at Lenovo is kind of like what I feel Chromebook should be. Like those $200 Chromebooks don't give the Chromebook a good name. You know, and that's what most people know of. They know of these education Chromebooks that are absolute utter crap. Like, let's not have more of that. Okay, let's aim a little higher, and that's why I'm like, the Neo is a good kind of like reset of the industry, at least at that 600 price point, you know?
But that's the thing. If Qualcomm actually said that the Snapdragon C is going to be in laptops that cost $500 or even $600, then they have to answer the question, how does it compare to the MacBook Neo? And we both know that it's nowhere even close. No. And the chip is, I don't know if you guys said it last week,
we did.
QCS. Okay. 6490. So we know what to expect.
I mean, we're back to Snapdragon 850 and 8CX and 7C or whatever, right? Like, I feel like we're regressing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, anyway, we could go on.
I'm fine with going after entry level and mid tier. That's cool. Intel makes something for $300 laptops. They probably should too. But I would like them to be more transparent. They have not mentioned the specs of this chip. Even when they spoke to us, they wouldn't even confirm if it supports Copilot Plus, when it's obvious that it doesn't. But they won't even talk about that. So they won't talk about specs. And it's the one thing they'll say is that it's really not for $300 laptops. So that's what frustrates me, the lack of transparency on it.
I think you're right.
Let's sort of call a spade a spade.
I'm not against them making a chip to target that fictional price point. I just feel like they should have been like, this is a chip, here's what it does, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, WWDC, I don't have much to say here. Like, look, I had a big rant after Google I.O. on how it was just AI slop shoveled at us for marketing purposes to satisfy the shareholders.
That's what it felt like.
And I feel the same way with Apple's WWDC AI stuff. Like, no, like a little less slop and a little more practical, you know, consumer focused. I mean, Google was all B2B and all shareholder and all marketing and all like buzz. And that annoyed me because it's a developer conference, you know. At least Apple had some developer stuff in there. Some stuff that'll
if only Google had some kind of new platform for people to develop for that was going to be coming on laptops later this year, maybe they could have talked about that.
If only they had Google Books, you know. But, you know, you at least will benefit from some of the stuff you saw there. So, okay, I will recap, folks, by send you to my description, and the description will have a link to The Verge's recap of 7 features. Look, they're interesting features. I'm not against what they're doing. I just feel like they're catching up on what everybody else. If you're using Gemini right now, none of this is new. And hooray, finally Apple has it, but like, can you show us something a little more interesting? I don't know.
They don't have anything more interesting. That's the thing. They've taken so much heat over this past year or two about Apple Intelligence and how they've sort of failed to deliver the things that they had promised when they first talked about Apple Intelligence. But it's all heat from the press. I don't know a single actual iPhone user that's going, cares. Wait, why are my AI features here? So the whole presentation this week felt very, hey, we have AI too, rather than actually showing off features that people will find useful and care about. I mentioned that the thing I thought I would care about is the parental control stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for me. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she does not. The only time she sees my iPad screen is one FaceTiming her grandparents, and if maybe if we're reading a Kindle book at night or something.
Okay.
So there are some really cool educational games on iPad that I want to get her into when she's like 5 or 6 or something. But there aren't good parental controls for sharing devices. And just for comparison, Android has had separate user accounts on tablets since 4.2 Jelly Bean.
Wow.
Okay. I remember that. I used it on my Nexus 7.
Nexus 7 for the win.
Yes.
Such a good tablet.
Yes. So if you go look at Apple's announcement about all these cool parental controls, the first thing it says is you have to set up a child account on your phone. And this is an out-of-box experience because the solution for your child using a device is just to buy them a device. It's not, we have this family iPad that we can share and my child can have their own safe user account on this iPad, which is all I really want. It's all I've ever, like, there are things where you can lock them in an app or something. There's nothing really about giving them a full environment. And if you look at some of the stuff they have on Android tablets now, like the OnePlus Pad 3, they're up to? Yeah. Like they have, these things have really good
child mode exists.
Child mode, and they have like a totally different experience where it's a little more animated and a little more just friendly for them to use. So it's not just a lockdown list of apps they can use. It's just more kid friendly. Apple's not doing any of that. It's all just please buy your kid an iPhone.
Well,
we gave you the ability to buy your kid an Apple Watch a couple years ago, so let's do it with your iPhone now, please.
Yeah, I mean it's the the eternal line from Tim Cook: buy your mom an iPhone. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I get it. Like that's what Apple's MO is. You buy the hardware to subsidize the software and the services. And do I agree? Well, not really, but I feel like the products are good. So
I never really hate on them for wanting people to buy hardware, but it is like, okay, if it's an iPhone, sure, I probably wouldn't want to, but iPads aren't something that every single person in the home should have. You should be able to have a family iPad.
I agree,
right?
Especially the house iPad, as I call it. You want to look at a recipe or you want to watch a Netflix real quick in a bathtub or whatever, anyway. So, here's one thing that stood out, though. There is a cool feature they announced, and it's not is it AI? Yeah, I suppose it's slightly agentic, but it could be programmatic. It doesn't have to be an AI thing. It's the go and change the passwords on sites that have compromised passwords. That automatic where it can do that. That is really cool. I have some old forum passwords that I haven't used in years that I don't really care if they get hijacked. That I should probably do that with on. And I wish that the Google Password Manager had that feature, to be honest, because I'm too lazy to care.
They'll probably add it next.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get that feature at some point, and it'll be good. But I don't know. It's I wasn't expecting hardware. We would have had some leaks from analysts and from from the usual suspects. But this AI NSHIT-fication of the entire industry right now is just it's hard. It's not making me happy.
Yeah.
That's why Computex also too much AI, but in too much B2B. But at least we got some hardware. We got some products. We got some devices. We got some cool stuff.
To go kind of full circle to where we started, the RTX Spark announcement was so weird, and just how this thing was positioned.
Snapdragon C announcement was weird. It's like everything was weird.
But I actually think Snapdragon C was meant to sort of just fly under the radar. And it's just this little thing, and everybody's going to write a little blog post and say like, yeah, they have a chip for $300 laptops, and nobody would talk about it again. And people started talking about it a lot more than they thought. But the RTX Spark, Jensen's on stage talking about how it's for agent PCs, which is this new PC category. We've heard AI PCs. Now we're talking about agent PCs. And they're talking about AI power. But these are not, look at the branding of the laptops. You have XPS, you have OmniBook, you have Yoga Pro. These are all consumer laptop brands. They are not when we talk about heavy duty AI workstations, you would expect HP to do a Zenbook. You would expect Dell to do a Precision. And nobody's really doing that. Or Lenovo would do probably ThinkPad P series.
Yep.
And so nobody's really doing that. So you talk to them and it's more about just that, video editing workflows. And they talk about gaming. And so it's like, what is this thing really for? It's like, yeah, AI is the messaging, right? But most people actually aren't going to use it for that.
No,
right?
and you know what? I'm fine with that because unified memory is awesome. And it's for creators and gamers, I think it's gonna be a really great product. Like, and if you can't afford that, whatever it's gonna cost to get that much RAM unified on a chip, like, good, like buy it because look, we've seen what happens. The M1, you had a MacBook Pro M1, like I know people who have had there since it launched and are still using it and are not upgrading because they don't need to.
Yeah.
I'm on an M2 Air that's 4 years old. If I'm not on my Neo. And it's 8 gigs. And I noticed no performance difference whatsoever. Other than, it's my Air is thinner and it has backlight and it has MagSafe and it has, it's a little better. But it's interesting to me because I think that perhaps for the first time in a long time, you'll be able to buy a PC and keep it for a few years and in a meaningful way. So, I got a couple more things or 3 things to bring up. Moto Edge 2026 reviews are out. I have a review unit coming. Like it got sent to me while I was in Taiwan for Computex. And unfortunately, I put a hold on it, but it did get sent back before I got to FedEx. So they overnighted me one. It's actually sitting at FedEx right now. So I'm just going to go get it. This is exciting because the reviews have been very positive. It's a mid-range Moto bar phone with solid specs and really good design and build quality. Like a lot of the stuff we've loved about the Razr Fold and the flip phones, but distilled down to a more affordable mid-range bar phone with cameras that don't suck apparently. And we know that the Razr Fold's cameras don't suck. So hopefully, finally, we're getting good cameras from Moto.
It doesn't suck.
I'm excited.
I like the Razr Fold quite a bit.
Oh, it was fantastic. I say was because I'm back on my Oppo Find N6. Sorry, it's even better. But look, if you're going to buy a US supported folding phone right now, I really think you have to think twice. And the Fold from Moto is the better phone over the Z Fold 7, in my opinion, because it's better rounded. It has pen support, has a better camera system. It has a lesser processor, if that matters to you somehow, but honestly, I don't think you'll notice any difference.
Right.
But this Moto Edge, I will let you know more when I get my device. So maybe next week I'll have a recap on my thoughts on that phone. So stay tuned for that. The other thing is OnePlus 15 just got AirDrop support. I updated it and tested it, and it works great. So that's good to know. And then, I don't want to mention this really, but I do because we have to, because I'm a mobile tech reviewer. And it's kind of interesting. The Trump mobile T1 phone has been taken apart by iFixit, finally. So we now have perfect 100% confirmation. It was pretty much 90% before that it is a rebadged HTC U24 Pro. And yeah, that's not surprising. But it's kind of fascinating to see the teardown because it really shows you how little has changed, between that phone coming out, 2-3 years ago. And it's not an HTC manufactured phone. Remember, HTC sold their phone division to Google. So any HTC phone sold in Taiwan since then has been some sort of generic Shenzhen OEM of some kind, right? And that's totally fine. There haven't been terrible phones at the time they came out. But this thing is, not only does it have the marring of the branding that it has and the lack of stripes that it has on the American flag in the back and all the problems and the ugly piss color, not only does it have all that, but it's an obsolete 2-3-year-old Shenzhen special, okay? Let's be real. So, surprise, surprise. Any thoughts on any of that? No, maybe?
Just the branding, like the Made in America or reflects American values branding that they put all over it, and then just like we know that any MVNO that launches, and if they have an exclusive phone, like they're not building it themselves. They didn't start a fact like they're going to an ODM or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be made in the United States, right?
No.
Like
I'm telling you, what's happening right now is they're possibly like putting it in a box in the US.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they might be putting like the camera on it or something.
The cover. Yeah. The back cover, closing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And also just like the different renders, like just these AI generated renders that they've had also over the time since this was first, like it's been an iPhone. It's been a Samsung Galaxy. It's been everything you can think of. And it just looks completely different every time.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
I mean, it's kind of fun to make fun of, and that's what we came for. And so there we are. But yeah, OnePlus 15 airdrop, Moto Edge. Stay tuned for that next week. We'll have more phone content in a future podcast, obviously, because there's a whole bunch of Chinese phones launching soon. And then, there'll be the Samsung stuff in July for the folding phones. Then, of course, there is Apple with the new iPhones in September. There'll be Google with the new Pixels in September. And oh God, we're going to get the new Qualcomm chips and the new MediaTek chips probably in September, because it seems like China wants them early as usual so that they can have all their big volley of launches in October, November, December ahead of Chinese or Lunar New Year. So, oh my God, I actually feel like it's nice that we have a bit of a lull right now because I can catch up a little bit on my stuff. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll have more. Rich, thanks for joining me on some major and minor rants and some Computex, closing the door on that and wrapping it up a bit with things we didn't talk about last week. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here as always. I would say anytime, but I did decline last week, so I can't really.
Well, look, you had a good reason. You had to manage a whole bunch of sites and people on the ground, and time was limited. I'm fine with that.
And no one was briefed on anything RTX Spark.
Oh my God.
So that's all done live. Everybody's coverage was done live on the ground.
No, I get it. Again, you came this week. So there we go. We wrapped up Computex. I love it.
Yes.
Tell folks where they can find you on social, where your writing ends up, who you manage, and I mean, not who, but like the sites.
I'm the Rich Woods on pretty much any social platform. My writing tends to end up on XDA. I've written but I'm also, I run XDA, How To Geek, and Make Use Of. I don't think I've actually written anything for How To Geek. Written a couple things for Make Use Of.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So folks, follow Rich on the socials. And if you want to talk with us, I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL on the socials. So, you can comment about this podcast on all the platforms. I'm primarily active on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I also have a TikTok, but that ends with 69, my year of birth, at the end of TNKGRL, my handle, which, by the way, is from Tankgirl, the comic book. Just drop the vowels. That's how you'll remember. Podcast lives at mobiletechpodcast.com. There's an RSS feed there. And of course, I'm on all the platforms. So just find me and add me if it's your first time here. Add me to your podcast list. And, review the show if your app lets you. That would be great. There's a YouTube channel with like monthly or so videos of hands-ons, unboxing, and reviews of phones and other fun devices. So check that out. YouTube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment, all that good stuff. And then I mentioned it earlier, there's a Patreon, patreon.com/Tankgirl, like my handle, TNKGRL. And that will give you the video version of the podcast, where you get to see our faces, devices, bloopers, extra content sometimes. So yeah, if you can support me, that'd be great. So patreon.com/TNKGRL. It gives you the podcast every week for $5 a month, and you get it the day in advance. And the day is Saturday because I publish the audio free version on Sundays. So there you go. That's your perk if you support me. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. Rich, thanks again for joining me and wrapping up Computex with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Absolutely. We'll have Rich on the show again in the future, folks. And of course, I'll have another show next week. So stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.